All right, gang. So, this is going to be the definitive recap of our vacancy campaign for Dungeons and Dragons. This is just to get everyone on the same page and give you a little bit of background and knowledge into the world that we've created. So, our story begins. Our story begins in Vacancy. Vacancy is it's a small village by all accounts in the early years, located in the Isle of Genji. The early years, of course, refer to the time of Stu Wings. He was a hero amongst heroes. Our village founder sought solace in the center of his own island paradise. Stu Wings and his elven wife started a family and lived in harmony with the Arachne, Salamandra, and Lionel neighbors. The years of adventuring had been good to Stu Wings. Flushed with gold and the ability to heal and create life, he cast powerful magics to the very core of the village. He sealed them with the sign of birth and cyclical rebirth, the tree, and it became a constant emblem of the village of Vacancy. After 17 years, the healer, who had healed so many, finally met his match in life. It was well lived, but he returned to the life stream. He left behind a wonderful family and a very capable son, who assumed a role with the elders in leading the village. An island paradise is only isolated for so long. With the death of Stu Wings, new inhabitants sprang up, coming from the ports. Although human, similar to Stu Wings, the visitors and pilgrims were not nearly as magnanimous. The humans moved through the land, beginning to make connections with each and every village. They promised riches beyond imagination in exchange for resources. The villagers never knew that accepting small treaties and trade would mark the fates of so many lives. The Waterdeep Trading Company, a world-renowned trading company, had changed their business methods. They flooded the shores with Genji with foresters, traders, and armed soldiers. The armory sprang up first, alongside logging camps. The second thing that happened was quite peculiar. The trees, well, those disappearing were explainable. The citizens, however, no one expected they would disappear as well. 2 years after Stu Wings' death, we meet the subject of our story, Stu Wings Jr. Well known throughout the village of Vacancy, and a bit of the playboy with the ladies, Stu Wings Jr. had fathered his own child with a dark elf maiden monk, although he was betrothed to a Lionel princess. The half-elf and dark elf populations were striving in Vacancy, and they'd never known the encroachment of the human race. Until finally a day came and a respected admiral from the foreign lands approached the Elder Council with a request. The admiral stated plainly that he would make them all rich. Every single one of them. He promised a new world filled with technology and modern conveniences. The only price that the village would have to pay were their trees. Disgusted at the thought of slaughtering trees, our humble druid, Stu Wings Jr., decided to become an outspoken hero. Breaking the elders free of their enticing draw of golden riches, Stu Wings Jr. abruptly cut off all negotiations with the admiral and requested he leave. He did do something else afterwards. He sent a raven to follow him. And as it followed from above, the admiral, something the human never would notice right above him. Let's go back on that. Stu Wings Jr. immediately asked the admiral to leave. His raven followed him from above, something a human would never notice. And the raven's reports were clear. The admiral had already begun. Go back. Oh. Followed the admiral from above. Okay, so Stu Wings Jr.'s raven followed the admiral from above, something a human would never notice. The raven's reports were clear. The admiral had already began construction on an armory, complete with cottages for foresters, and of course, couple of cottages, and of course, okay, back. Oh, good God. Okay. The raven's reports were clear. The admiral had already begun construction on an armory, complete with cottages surrounding it for foresters and soldiers. Enraged by the assumption that the humans would take their territory, Stewings Jr., enraged that the... Oh, hold on, let's take a break. Okay. From the top. Oh, Delta, I hope you're watching this. If not, I don't know what I'm paying you for. Kidding, I love you. All right. Enraged by the humans' assumption, Stewings Jr. took to their new camp with the help of several highly skilled villagers and one wanderer by the name of Stan. The group managed to liberate the armory of all of its belongings and reallocated it and all of its resources to the people of Vacancy. Stewings Jr., triumphant in vigor. Sorry, back. Stewings Jr., triumphant in victory, arrived back to the village to find his living family were taken captive and carted south towards the Lionel nations and their port city of Dinea. As the caravan headed south, Stan jumped to the front of the pack to say, "I will lead with you, my leader. Just tell me what to do." Stewings Jr. appreciated his help and wasn't quite sure why this guy liked him so much, but he certainly appreciated the offer. Stan took front and managed to kill off 3 of the guards holding the caravan as it was moving south. In the meantime, Stewings Jr. worked his magic on the people of the arachnid village to the west. In the meantime, Stewings Jr. worked his magic on the people to the west, the arachne, spider, and human to the core. They managed to... Go back. Good God. Fuck. I'm sorry I'm sucking at this so bad, guys. I'm trying. I'm really trying. I just suck at writing. Okay. Stewings Jr. So we'll go back triumphant in victory. Ready? It's pretty hot, not gonna lie. All right, love you guys. Ready? Stewings Jr., triumphant in victory, arrived back to his village to find his living family were taken captive and carted south towards the Lionel nation and their port city of Dinea. As the caravans headed south, Stan, one of the most trusted advisors to Stewings Jr., stepped forward and said he would help in liberating his family and stopping whatever incursions might happen against the village. Stewings Jr. negotiated. Sorry, guys, dog fart. Okay. Good God. Oh, I suck at this so bad. Can you tell it's my first time doing one of these? All right. Give me just a minute. Oh. Woosah. Woosah. All right. A little bit of this, a little bit of that. You can do it. This so you can deal with that. All right. Let's start back at the caravan. Okay, so headed towards the port city of Danae. The caravan holding Stu Wings Jr. ran to the south at a gallop's pace. But Stu Wings Jr. and Stan, his most trusted guard, were quick to catch up. Stan, being the stealthy rogue that he is, managed to headshot every single one of the guards surrounding the caravan. With all of them dead, Stu Wings Jr. sent his Raven to scout, while also recruiting members from the Arachne and the Salamandra and the Lionel, who all had been drawn into this dramatic turn of events. As they head off the caravan, Stu Wings Jr. and Stan manage to question the leader to find out, or question the driver. Okay. As they head off the caravan, Stu Wings Jr. and Stan find the driver and interrogate him. I gotta rewrite this. I gotta rewrite it. It's I know, we're all there, guys. We're all there. Okay, so as the caravan heads south, Stu Wings Jr. and Stan run behind it, attracting attention from the Arachne and Salamandra scouts in the region. Once barricaded, they question the driver and ask him exactly where is he headed and who does he belong to. He said the port village of Danae, and Stu Wings Jr., after sending his relatives back home, goes down to the port city to investigate. Our lovely princess, Meowlissa had actually arranged the entire thing, from taking Stu Wings Jr.'s family captive to having them carted down to pretending that they would be sold into slavery. She admits this to Stu Wings Jr. in an almost half chuckle. You were supposed to marry me, remember? You were supposed to marry me. And when you didn't, I knew that you would be the one of the prophecy, and you left me so heartbroken, I had to do something to start this thing. After her apology, Stu Wings Jr. decided to let her keep her head. After she apologized, Stu Wings Jr. allowed her to keep her head. In keeping with the prophecy, Stu Wings Jr. holds a giant festival, a Royal Rumble event, where each person to be thrown out of the ring is eliminated until only one is left standing, the one with the right to challenge the champion. While overseeing the Royal Rumble event and the celebrations, Stu Wings Jr. is approached by the king, Pompous, from the Salamandra Kingdom. He apologizes for shooting Stu Wings Jr.'s Raven. I should probably go back to where the Raven got shot. God, I suck at this. I'm so sorry, guys. Like I said, first time. You know, don't expect too much. Expect a little bit, you know. Don't expect the whole thing because we're working. Oh, okay. At the Royal Rumble event, we have Mr. Kettlebun, the Paladin from nowhere, who manages to make it all the way to the final round against the Salamandra champion, King Vixen. King Vixen does defeat him and pushes forward to the final round with the champ. As the final round selection and the final bout begins in our wrestling arena, we find every single audience member turning their heads in horror to the top box where the king sits. Stewings Jr. had shot and killed King Pompous right in the head. King Pompous had promised everything to Stewings Jr. He said he would be his loyal retainer. He would join him in uniting the nations and traveling throughout all of the lands, from each island to the next. But Stewings Jr. wouldn't have any of that, especially not with Stan telling him that there need to be examples to be made in this kingdom. Stewings Jr. attacked and murdered Pompous in front of everyone at the festival. A coup de grace straight to the back of the neck. Immediately, word spread across the arena and genocide broke out. Everyone who had the look of a Salamandra individual was targeted. All the elves, all the dark elves, all the half elves, all the Arachne, all the Lionel turned on every Salamandra in that arena at the Royal Rumble. As the fighting broke out, the champ moved quickly to try to secure any women and children. His opponent, of course, being a salamander himself. His opponent, the king, moved down to the bottom of the arena and took all comers down to hide them and shelter them underneath the stage of the wrestling ring. Mr. Kettlebun worked on one side, while our champ worked on the other. The champ himself, Cruz, he managed to fight off over 36 half-elves while working his way through the stands and protecting all of the salamanders. Cruz, fed up with take it back from the top. Hat's too hot. It's summer, guys. All right, back from the top, we're going to start at Cruz. Cruz, seeing the environment as very hostile and only wanting his money and to get the hell off of this island, runs to the south gate. He's approached by a very fancy cart which was ready for him, and they say, "Are you ready, champ? Are you ready to go?" Cruz takes off down to the south and enters the port city of Danaea. He takes the check with him for his fight and goes to cash it at the bank. While there, he does get a little enamored with the teller. And as he exits the bank, he notices a rumbling, almost like an earthquake. Off to the distance, Cruz, the champ, sees back at the village of Vacancy, the one he had just left, three giant Hydra's heads emerge and begin. Take it back. We'll go. After exiting the bank, the champ sees off in the distance to the north at the port. Fuck my life. I suck at this. I'm sorry, guys. After exiting the bank, our champ sees to the north at the village of Vacancy three gigantic flaming hydras emerge and begin to rain firebolts against Vacancy Village. The rumbling in the ground intensifies, and the next thing he sees is Stan sitting up in a tree. He turns with bow in hand, and with one hand free, he gives the champ a little shh before firing an arrow that immediately beheads and cauterizes the Hydra. The eruption becomes too intense. The destruction is more clear and evident than ever. The champ runs. He manages to take the teller from the bank with him down to a cellar with two other guards. The guards go up. They try to secure the area, but run and also abandon to the cell. Fuck my life. I suck at this so bad, guys. I know. I wish I could be a better DM. Okay. Fuck! Okay. So. The champ sees the flames and feels the ground beneath him move. He retreats to a cellar in a nearby. As the champ looks, he sees the flaming bolts and feels the shaking ground beneath him. He retreats to a cellar below the bank. And when he emerges, he finds only 8% of the village of Denea remains. And after emerging, back to after emerging, okay. After emerging from the cellar, he sees that only 8% of the village of Denea remained. So, little bit before this happened, let's take a trip. Just one day before, actually, we meet a pirate named Fritz. Our pirate Fritz, he's a very chatty character. Everyone loves him. He's got a war drum that he keeps to constantly knock the constant flow and rhythm of all of the boatsmen. And he's traveled quite a bit. He's traveled from island to island. He's only here on a job. And his job today happens to be in Denea, the night before the tournament. As he exits his ship, everyone is told that they've got shore leave. After exiting the... Okay, back. Okay, so... Arriving in Denea the night before the tournament, our protagonist Fritz notices that after unloading his ship, they contain a lot of large cellars with big locks down underneath in the galleys. Shrugging it off, Fritz heads to the tavern with the rest of his boys, and after being the clear leader of rounds of shots for everyone, the guard catches on to him and decides that they're going to... Okay, fucking God. Sorry, I know I shouldn't be drinking so damn much. Sorry! Alright. Oh! This is a lot harder than I thought it was going to be, guys, but I'm getting it together. And at least we're doing it, you know? Hardest part's doing the first thing, so we're doing the first thing. Alright. So, arriving to Denea, noticing as Fritz's ship unloads all of the cargo, he notices very large cells and containers with locks unimaginably protected by magics and ancient technologies. Shrugging it off, he heads to the tavern with his boys. And after a round of drinks and a nice little bar fight, he gets questioned by some guards. The guards ask him if he knows anything about slave trade or human trafficking. And of course, our buddy Fritz, he's not entirely sure at all, but being the leader of this group, he is carted off by the guards for interrogation. And they say, "You have to answer to the king in Vacancy." As they begin to make their way through the port city and to the north, they feel some trembling below the ground, and they can actually see off in the distance hydras emerge and begin to rain fire upon the area that they're headed to. The shaking gets even more intense and even more intense with every step until finally a gigantic tree burst forth through the ground, shaking everything and shooting earthquakes out in its path, all the way down to the port city of Danae. The caravan's unmoved, and the guards continue on. And as they make it to the front gate, they're accosted by several Salamandra scouts and one or two Lionels that happen to just be hanging out. After the fight, Okay. As they approach the city gates of Vacancy, the caravan holding Fritz is accosted by several Salamandra scouts. The head guard in charge, not taking any bullshit, decides that he's going to fight off every single one of them. Throughout the battle, Fritz manages to untie himself and alleviate himself of his spot inside of the cage of the caravan. And instead of making a run for it, he says, "You know what? I'll just stick with you guys." And so he does. The guards now arrive at Vacancy, which is a gigantic tree sticking out of the ground. When he heads to the top, he's informed by the elders that an ancient magical ritual has taken the entire bloodline of the Stewings and has placed them down into the cavern as seeds to protect the village from any incursions and creating a barrier that should be impossible for anyone to ever penetrate the tree itself. The elders hand a very specific gem, a gem of the life stream, to Fritz and say, "If you can free our leader, we will let you go. No questions asked. No human trafficking charges." Fritz is more than happy to oblige. The guards, on the other hand, they take off to go doing a lot of guard duty because it's a world in chaos right now with a giant tree shooting out of the ground, salamanders at war. Fritz, freeing Stewings Jr., who comes out of the seed completely buck naked, says, "Hi." And Stewings Jr., not entirely sure where he's at or what he's doing, he says, "Hello, thanks for rescuing me." They head to the tavern, where they're regaled by songs from a mythical bard maiden named Shalindra. They also meet up with... They head to the tavern, where they're met with mystical songs by a world-renowned artist, Shalindra. After a few drinks and introducing themselves, The trio. Okay, so after a few drinks and introducing themselves, the trio decide to head out on an adventure to find more of the gems and release more of the Stewing's bloodline to bring them back and restore order to the village of Vacancy. With information from the elders and information from the townsmen, Stewings Jr., Shalindra, and Fritz head north to the world of the dwarves. On their way, they encounter a young dwarf named Shadow, who had been making his way to the capital before it turned into a giant tree. Shadow is accosted by a few boars on the side of the road, but with the use of his chromatic orb and its fire affinity, he's able to slay the boars and actually cook their meat at the same time. Preparing a feast fit for 3 to 4 individuals, Shadow invites his new friends, and Stewings Jr., Shalindra, and Fritz, as well as Shadow, all spend a night of merriment, drinking Bud Heavy. When they wake in the morning, they're met by a traveling merchant, Tamberlane, and another person who looks an awful lot like Fritz. Looks like there's 2 Fritz. They discover that Tamberlane and his cohort are the biggest names in the area for potions and accessories. They also love music. Fritz, noticing that the doppelganger looks a lot like him, questions the situation and finds that he just happens to transform into whatever he sees, whatever person or thing he sees. And as he questions it, let's go back. Okay, fuck. We'll go back to dabbling music. Fritz, unsure of why the back. Fritz, unsure of why there are 2 of them, starts to question Tamberlane on exactly what's going on right now. Tamberlane explains that his buddy happens to transform into anyone that he comes into contact with. So you just kind of got to ride it out. Tamberlane, excited by the new adventurers headed to the north, gives his information about his different wares and different locations to the north and to the south, and asks that the adventurers do whatever they can to visit him when possible. He also adds in a discount for potions. Throughout the journey, Shadow, Stewings Jr., and Fritz, as well as Shalindra, converse about the village where Shadow is from, and he explains that they mine all sorts of gems and ores day in and day out, only because they like to do it. They decide to party up and head back north to Shadow's village. They discover, upon entering, that Rose-Kit, one of Stewing Jr.'s Dark Elf children, survived all of the destruction and was already close to north, and decided to go for some treats. After reconvening, we now have our party: Stewings Jr., Rose-Kit, Shadow, Shalindra, and Fritz. When they question everyone around the village of Shadow clan, when they question, go back. Oh, I'm sorry, guys. Wish I was better. Okay. Moving around the Shadow Clan village, our new heroes discover separate requests from different villagers. There are few things that are going amiss up to the north. They're clued in on a few different spots where the gem might be, and they're also told of a mining camp that is to the north and west of their current location. As they leave, they're aware of all of the things. As they leave, they're aware of all of the circumstances riding on their shoulders, and they head to take care of the disappearance of Tree. Go back. Good God. Suck it. Writing, guys. I'm sorry. Deciding to follow the quest lines that they're given, our heroes adventure. They head off to figure out the disturbances within the trees and the water in the ground. Why is the river of life suddenly not providing enough? Why are the trees of death suddenly dying? As they adventure forth, they do encounter an entire logging camp complete with two gigantic mechanicalized logging equipment, heavy machinery equipped with saw blades and pincers, gigantic forestry equipment set to clear cut an entire acreage beyond. Our heroes at night investigate the camp and sabotage one of the machineries. They also, through dazzling lights, manage to keep their personas hidden. The guards they lure into traps of spiked growth, and they manage to murder a couple of them before taking off to Stormflux Mining Village. At Stormflux Mining Village, they meet Morgan, Piello, and Tefelto, as well as Bart. No, it's not Bart. I'm so sorry, guys. Oh, where's my book? With a stealthy retreat and only able to disable one of the foresting vehicles at the logging camp, our party heads to the Stormflux mining camp. Met by Morgan, a spunky little child who has a lot of fun with Rosekit singing and dancing. Uh, our group questions the villagers and the people living there. In Stormflux mining camp, we find Major Tom, a no-nonsense major who is all about mining. They find that everyone around the encampment, they live a socialist life. They go out and they mine when they want to. They come back when they want to. They fix what they want to. Their goods are sold at such a high price that gets paid sometimes that all of the overhead of the camp is paid for. Siri, one of our local town's merchants and Stormflux mining camp, kind of gives the 411 on what's been happening around the location, and it's pretty chill for the most part, except for Major Tom's son, Tom Jr. Tom Jr. is a bit of an ass. He doesn't like to mine, he likes to drink all day, and he loves sleeping in his hammock. Shadow has known Tom Jr. for quite a while. They went to school together. Shadow kind of says hello to him, and Tom Jr.'s like, hey, what's going on, guys? I want to show you everything, but shows him no. As our adventurers talk to Siri, they find that the water that has been providing for so many potions from the River of Life has suddenly stagnated. It's no longer flowing. The healing properties aren't there. She begs that the adventurers bring 20 gallons of water back from the main area. Let's go back, sorry. Walking through Stormflux mining camp, our adventurers find Siri, a merchant of her own rights, and a very crafty woman who is certainly independent. She takes an instant liking to Shalindra. Shalindra, wooing her over, manages to get some information about the River of Life. The River of Life has since stopped flowing as much as it should, and if she could get some water from there, that would be amazing. Shalindra promises, absolutely, baby, and takes off with a gigantic urn to carry all of the water from the River of Life back to the Stormflux mining camp. As our adventurers exit the Stormflux mining camp, they're met by Major Tom. Major Tom says, "Looky here, guys. A lot of us have got complacent, and a lot of us, we still need to mine. But I love to teach, and I love to see new people learn how to mine." He hands every one of our adventurers a brand new pickaxe, and he teaches them mining 101. He says, "Hey, when you go to that River of Life, you grab a good ore for me, would you?" Our adventurers take off. They get up to the top flowing area above where the River of Life flows, the very core, and they see that there's a dam that's been created to block the water's flow. There are 3 flaming beavers that are constantly above a temperature of 300. They radiate flames that are blue despite bathing in water, and they have created a dam of their own. Rosekit and Stu Wings Jr. recruit frogs and draw the beavers out of the water, while Shadow, Shalindra, and Fritz use poison and Rosekit's might to kill the beavers off. Rosekit and Stu Wings Jr. transform into the beavers that they just saw and break the dam open to retrieve water for Siri. As they come back to the town with their water intact and the river situation figured out, they're immediately met by Tom, Major Tom, who is distraught. And he says, "Hey, didn't you guys go mine? Didn't you do any mining for me?" They never did any mining. So Major Tom says, "You guys are just like my son. Lazy, drunk all the time, you don't want to do shit. Fuck you." And he storms off. That night, Shadow kind of gets rallied over to Tom Jr., who is drinking in his hammock, and they start catching up on old times while drinking. Shadow makes it about 3 drinks in before he kind of browns out, and then he starts finding voices of several other new people before he completely blacks out. Shalindra and Stu Wings Jr. drink at the tavern. Stu, go back. Shalindra and Fritz drink at the tavern together, while Stu Wings Jr. goes to bed early with Rosekit. They eat some popcorn and lemonade, go to bed, and they wake up to screaming. "I'm trying, baby. I'm trying." In the morning, everyone is awoken to screaming. In the morning, everyone wakes to screaming. Oh no! How could you kill him? Rose Kit and Stu Wings Jr., the two soberest of the group, run immediately to find that near Tom Jr.'s hammock are sets of footprints and a lot of blood. And sleeping in Tom Jr.'s hammock is Shadow, covered in blood. Shadow is immediately carted off without any questions asked and jailed. Our team begins to investigate the situation. They find that with the tracks, there were salamander around as well as some humans. After discovering and tracking down each and every one of them, our druids send 2 frog investigators to go look and follow the tracks. Our frogs report back. 2 humans, 2 salamandra, and Tom Jr. And they're all arguing. Fritz takes the initiative, runs towards them, and disguises himself as a salamander. As he approaches, the salamander is speaking Draconic. Unfortunately, Fritz doesn't speak Draconic, so everyone kind of looks at him, and he's just as confused as everyone else, and doesn't really say anything, kind of points to his vocal cords like can't talk. The negotiations break down quick. Whatever was happening between the humans and Salamandra, it's lost in translation. A fight breaks out. As the fight breaks out, our boy Fritz manages to charm one of the humans and has him attack one of the salamanders. With the attack being off guard, with advantage, and critical, he manages to slam an entire pickaxe through the throat of one of the salamandra negotiators. Rose Kit and Stu Wings Jr. immediately follow up and show to help with whatever situation might be unfolding. The other human, who is not charmed, kind of starts to fight. When I say kind of, I mean he's accosted by 2 frogs immediately, poisoned and stunned. Stu Wings Jr. and Rose Kit make very short work of the other human guard. The one charmed remains charmed and is strapped to a spot on the ground, prone, and then slowly succumbs to the poison of Rose Kit's frog. Our salamandra, speaking Draconic to Rose Kit, who also speaks Draconic, tell her that they were brought here 2 days earlier by the humans to negotiate rights for mining in the territory. They were told that once Vacancy, the Lionel, and the Arachne were taken care of, wouldn't need to worry about them ever again. And they would reap all of the riches, just 3 of them, the humans, the dwarves, and the salamander. Tom Jr. was definitely in on this plan. And Tom Jr. was kind of the one who made the plan. He was the one who reached out. Through some interrogation and some bribery, giving up one of Stu Wings Jr.'s pet frogs, as well as about 200 gold, Tom Jr. decides that he's going to turn himself in and absolve Shadow of the wrongful accusation that he's a murderer. When they arrive back at the Stormflux mining camp's jail cells, General Atmos appears, and Tom Jr. immediately talks to General Atmos and says, "Look, it was one of us. It wasn't Shadow. Let him go." General Atmos and Sergeant Bucklebelt look back at him and say, "It doesn't matter. We got our guy. We're getting rid of our guy. He's gone." And with that, Shadow's fate is sealed. Except for the guile of two of our adventurers, Fritz and Shalindra. Fritz and Shalindra, working in tandem, managed to loot the entire prison cell, almost release a serial killer, but release Shadow, our best friend. Shadow, released and walking free, exits to find that General Atmos and Sergeant Bucklebelt will not have any of it. They're lured away while our team flees the Stormflux mining camp. Shadow, with a bounty on his head, arriving back in the Shadow Clan village, our group arriving back in the Shadow Clan village, our group is met by go back. For smoke. Great, I got fucking Springer Vacation on there. Not that it matters. Okay. Well, I don't know if any of that helped at all. I am so sorry. Oh my gosh. Delta, I know you've got a lot of work to do. You got a lot of work to do. I'm so sorry for this. But hey, at least you're getting paid, right? All right. Everybody skip ahead 5 minutes in the video. What did you say? All right. Is that 5? Yeah, that was 5. All right. So, where did we leave off? We left off at the trip back to Shadow Clan Village. As our group appears in Shadow Clan Village, they are met by Biff and Spit, two of the hottest armories. As our crew gets back to Shadow Clan Village, they meet Biff and Spit, two of the hottest armorers that have ever existed and ever swung a mallet. They live right next door to Shadow, conveniently enough, and they beckon our travelers over to see exactly what they've been working on. Our travelers are met by a door that swings open from the top, something they've never seen before, as well as the body of a 1957 Oldsmobile. Ooh, pretty fancy. With an extra night raid. Oh, fuck, I missed the night raid. Oh. Gonna let that happen, guys. Okay. On the way back to Shadow Clan Village, our intrepid travelers decide that they are going to raid the forest camp that they missed before. Doing so, they take all of the parts off of the logging equipment and put it into a bag of holding. Rosekit also manages to grab a couple few things that look significant enough. They discover two men that are engaged in some other activity, but with a few hostages, you can only take one. So a couple of them managed to leave the logging encampment. Oh my god, I suck. I'm so sorry, guys. I'm so sorry. We're going to do this. We're going to get there. I promise. I'll get better. I got to write this out again. But this is a recap for us, okay? It's not like I'm doing this for anyone other than us. So at least you guys give me the benefit of the doubt. Yeah, even when I'm a failure. All right. I love you guys. Okay, back to Shadow Clan Village. Biff and Spiff are enamored with this new vehicle that they're creating, and our adventurers have some parts available for them. Biff and Spiff take a couple of the parts that the group managed to salvage from the logging equipment, and they say, hey, get out of here. Get out of here. Don't run around. We'll take care of it for you. Give me that look. Love you. Our travelers, minus Fritz, who stays back at Shadow's house, head towards the elders of the Shadow Clan Village. Charlie, Stewings Jr., not knowing when to hold his tongue, tells the elders absolutely everything of what happened while he was up at Stormflux mining camp. Says how they took Shadow in, accused him of murder, tried to execute him, how they had to break him out. The elders say, don't sweat it. Follow us into a special room where the elders, through some chants, summon a deep, powerful, black blob of goo that shoots up into the sky and heads in the direction of the Shadow Clan Village. Or the back. The elders, with ancient magic and ancient rituals, rituals conjure a deep, dark, black goo which rockets into the sky and heads off to the northwest towards the Stormflux mining camp. Two of the elders turn and move from their sacred rites and say, "Don't worry about that place anymore. There's no reason to ever go back to that place." Our heroes don't question it too much, especially when the elders say, "We will grant each of you a request." Stewings Jr., Shadow, Shalindra, they managed to acquire some new gear and some new spells, but the ever-curious one, Rosekit, asked for experience. The elders do touch each one of our adventurers and imbue upon them a dark magic that grants them experience points. But from then on, each one of the adventurers is able, for some reason, to cast darkness. But from then on, each one of our heroes is able, for some reason, to cast darkness. Adventuring around the town, our heroes, Rosekit and Shalindra, as well as Stewings Jr., begin to see people that aren't necessarily there. At least they couldn't be there. They're from the Stormflux mining camp. They see Morgan. They see Piello. They see Tefelto. They see General Atmos. They see Sergeant Bucklebelt. And when Rosekit sees Morgan, they play their hop, skip, and jump game. And they sing their song. But the song ends on a somber note. Life was so good before the big black bang. Each one of the ghosts that each one of our members sees spews out a black blob of goo from their mouth. Unsure of what fate really did happen to the Stormflux mining camp, they continue on to the taverns. Shalindra, being our bard maiden and one of the hottest attractions, manages to meet up with Tamberlane, who is back to the south. Tamberlane says, "Please play us a song tonight over at Bart's Tavern." Oh, and I missed the shit about the Salamandra. Okay, guys. I'm going to have to polish this up later. I'm just going to do a hardcore recap. This is just me. I'm just going off the head. I'm a shitty writer. So, we'll just go from there, see if I can remember it all. Honestly, it's getting close to game time. Sorry, guys. I suck. Okay. After questioning the captive that they have from the previous logging camp, they discover that the humans come from a world where technological advancement has outstriped magic every step of the way. Magic doesn't even exist to them except for fun. They live off of flushing toilets, technological advancements that the normal person on Genji could never understand. All of our heroes find this kind of hilarious and say, after a lot of racist slurs, that they're just going to go ahead and kill this guy. This human was not worth it, and we're moving on back to Vacancy because we need to go take care of this war on the island. That night, Shalindra plays an amazing song that draws the ire of Tamberlane and the ire of Bart, the tavern keeper, inside of Shadowclan Village. Bart, seeing a golden goose, says, "Shalindra, you come with me, baby. I will make you millions upon millions. You will be the most famous singer who has ever lived." Throughout the night, many drinks are imbibed. Song is sung. And in the morning, Shalindra wakes up with Bart and his tavern wench, Priscilla. The rest of the group reconvene and discuss how they're going to outfit and create a new car to get around from Biff and Spit. With a raid on a local logging village, they manage to find all the parts they need, and with the Elder's blessing, they manage to secure a deal. As long as they run with the Shadow Clan emblem on their vehicle, the Elders will foot every expense for labor costs. That night at the tavern, as they're waiting for their vehicle to be made, Tamberlane and Bart kind of get into a fight. Tamberlane does not like Stewings Jr. Stewings Jr. caused an entire war by killing the king of the Salamander. Tamberlane is missing out on a lot of money that he could have been getting from those Salamander kingdoms. Tamberlane is kind of on the fence with just taking in the group and kidnapping them and giving them to the humans. Bart, however, loves the influx of travelers. He loves the fact that everyone comes to town and everyone's upset, so everybody drinks. He's making tons of money. He tells Tamberlane, just shut up and get out of the way. Tamberlane, with a little bit of popcorn and a little bit of persuasion, meets a negotiation and a deal with Stewings Jr. The deal being, if you ever find new territories where Tamberlane can set up shop, you let him know. If you ever see any deals, any prices, any listings, you let Tamberlane know. And you also put a little Tamberlane emblem on your new vehicle. Agreeing to all of these things. Agreeing to all of these things, our travelers progress through the night at the tavern, drinking. Rose-Kit has to take Stewings Jr. to bed a little early. He's drunk. He pisses himself, and Rose-Kit has to deal with that. Fritz, in the meantime, is kind of hanging out at Shadow's house. He's found new purpose in helping Shadow's mom bake some pie. Shadow is kind of off to his own, likes his village, sees everyone, and loves everyone. Rose-Kit gets some popcorn, and through some questioning of Priscilla, kind of finds out, oh, I wonder where Shalindra's been. As the night progresses, a lot of people leave the bar. Shalindra, after playing an amazing set, is showered with gold. The gold is held by Bart for a moment. And at the end of the night, Tamberlane, who had... See, this is why I suck. So, okay. Go back. At the tavern for the night, all of our heroes notice two new mercenaries, one with a giant shield, and one an assassin, who happen to be residing at the tavern for just a moment. Rose-Kit eavesdropping on the conversations between Bart, discovered that these are mercenaries paid for by Tamberlane. The mercenaries' goal? Simply to make money. When Tamberlane is met by Stewings Jr., he decides to call off his whole plan of kidnapping and extorting the kingdom. At the end of the night, the two mercenaries move towards Tamberlane, and after some heated conversation that nobody's quite sure what was said, they leave. After bar call and bar close, everyone moves through the doors except for our adventurers, who head out back and find the body of a person slumped over in the gutters. The person, of course, being Tamberlane. Rosekit sees that Bart, immediately runs over and gives him a potion. After imbibing the potion, Tamberlane bubbles at the mouth and vomits as he dies. Priscilla and Bart move to a little bottom area basement window and with a click of a button open up a chute where they send Tamberlane's body. Shalindra, having seen that Tamberlane has been taken out and upset with Bart, decides that she's just going to take a shower at the tavern and go to bed without sleeping with either of them. As she arrives to her room, she finds a bouquet of flowers. It says, I hope you have a great show tonight. Love, Tamberlane. In the morning, Biff and Spiff roll out with a brand new 57 Oldsmobile buggy with gigantic tires. They're whipping Uis, they're whipping donuts everywhere throughout the town, and our adventurers could not be happier. They do honor the previous relationships that they had with... Not baby. Oh, sorry, dog sleep. They do honor their agreement with Tamberlane, and they honor their agreement with the elders. They have a lot of cool little decals. One of them saying, "Rest in peace, Tamberlane." Shadow makes that right before they take off. Stewings Jr. knows that he needs to get back south to Vacancy. He calls a raven for Stan, and Stan, who was left in charge of all the battles with the Salamander folks, he reports. And, oh my god, I suck. Okay, let's just go to the night. I can't recap from then on. Okay. There's just so much, guys. It's wild. It really is. I would have to write like all this down. I basically got to write a book. I mean, that's about where it's at. Pretty wild. But hey, we're going, right? Getting back to the village of Vacancy, but leaving Shalindra behind, our group manages to meet up with a new traveler named Maximilian, who's a human. And although Maximilian's a human, he promises that he is not there to help out the Waterdeep. He's just there to make a life for him and his family. He introduces his daughter, Dina, to our Rosekit, and they hit it off pretty quick. She likes the human girl. And after Stewings Jr. arrives, the guards are willing to do whatever he says. Stewings Jr. grants a temporary merchant license to Maximilian, and Maximilian and his family head into town and set up shop right next to where Tamberlane's used to be. No, babe. Okay. You my girl. I love you. I love you. All right, we're in the final stretches, guys. You ready? Okay. So, our group, back in Vacancy, with a new gem in hand through the magic of mining and quest rewards, go to resurrect one of the seed pods. And while resurrecting them, they decide one of them will be Tamberlane. Tamberlane arrives buck naked, and finds his way back into society. Somehow, some way, running right back to his buddy, the shapeshifter. Oh, fuck. It's going to take me some time. I got to write this out, guys. I'm sorry. I got to write this one out. Skip ahead. Everybody decides to head to the Salamander Kingdom to finally take care of this war and settle it once and for all. On their way in the buggy, they do get trapped by some rogues of all sorts of different nations and different kinds. While they are there, they learn that Stan has been slaughtering women, children alike, entire villages, left and right, just completely destroying everything that he's come across. When they make it to the final palace of the Salamander Kingdom, it is lined by tens of hundreds of soldiers. And Prince Fabian, the son to our king, shows up in his best battle garb, only to immediately be killed by an arrow through the neck, shot by Stan. Heading into the palace, our group finds Prince Fabian, the brainier one, inside, surrounded by quite a few guards, who are all immediately murdered by Stan. Stan, triumphant in victory, says, "We finally got it, my king. We finally did it. We've got them taken care of." So Stan decides it's time for a bride. He marches all of the prettiest women he can find from the Salamandra and says, "King, take your pick." Stu Wings Jr., with the help of Rose Kit, pick one of the only females who manages to know when Rose Kit's birthday is. That night after betting, a speech is to be given by Stu Wings Jr. He kind of falters a little bit, and then Rose Kit takes over, and she kind of falters a little bit. Shalindra takes over, does a decent enough job, but the moral of the speech is where that Stan is the one at fault, and Stan is really the one you need to get your revenge against. Stan is drawn, quartered, his head put into stocks, and he is beheaded by all of the Salamandra there in the palace of the Salamander Kingdom. Stan smiles and said, "I never thought you would have done this, my lord." And as his soul leaves his body, a gigantic black orb, shining of light but devoid of light at the same time, emerges to float across, and as it heads toward the Shadow Clan village, it stops, doubles around, and heads back to Shadow. Alright, that's it for me, guys. Everybody made it back. After that, refugees are at war. There's a lot of shit I missed. I'm going to have to write